Hi everybody, welcome to engVid.com. I'm Adam. In today's video, we're going to look at some business English expressions, but not technical business. We're going to look at business idioms. Because remember, even in business, you still have to have some casual conversations, some everyday situations. And when you're talking or dealing with your own staff or with coworkers, you're still going to be you can be very informal still and use idioms. However, you're not going to use most of these in writing. Some of them you can, and I'll point out which ones, but most of them are a little bit too informal for formal writing. So let's start with the first one. To get all of one's ducks in a row. And you can put all of or without the of, both okay. Get all one's ducks in a row. Now, ducks are like the little animal, but I'm not really sure where the expression came from, but I think it's from like games where you have to shoot the ducks. If you put all your ducks in a row, it means you get all the pieces ready so that you can begin doing something. So before you start a project, you want to make sure you get all your ducks in a row. You have your investors, you have the people who are going to work on the project, you potentially have a client ready to buy whatever it is you're making or the service you're providing. So you have everything ready, and then you actually begin. If you don't have all your ducks in a row, there may be problems down the line, or there may be no point in even starting this project because it's not going to go anywhere. So basically, get everything ready, have all the pieces in place before you begin something. Now, that is actually very much related to the next idiom, which is dot the I's and cross the T's. So what you're going to do, you're going to dot the I's, make sure that there's a dot, and cross the T's. Basically, it means make sure that all the details have been taken care of. So especially when you're talking about paperwork, you want to make sure there are no errors, nothing is missing, nothing is misspelled, for example. In a contract, if you misspell a word and you mean something other than what you intended, it could be a huge problem. A contract is a legal document. So you want to make sure everything is perfect and correct before anybody signs, before you go on with whatever business. So make sure all the details, the I's on the dots on the I's, the T's are crossed. Nothing is missing. Because if you don't do this, if you don't take care of the details and you don't have all your ducks lined up, you may end up going back to square one. Back to square one means back to the beginning. You have to start over. So if you made mistakes along the way, it doesn't matter how much work you did. If you have to go back to square one, back to the beginning, to start the whole process from scratch. Oh, that's actually a good expression too. From scratch. From scratch means from nothing. You're starting from complete zero and you're building your way back up, back to square one, similar to from scratch. So that's not a good situation. Now, when you're doing business, some companies or different companies operate in different ways. Some companies do everything by the book. By the book means legally, according to the rules, exactly as it's supposed to happen. They follow the standards. Other companies cut corners, means they try to take shortcuts, or they try to do things to save money. So for example, if we're talking about a building, a lot of builders try to cut corners by using cheaper material, or by not installing certain things, or by hoping that the clients don't really notice that something is broken or not working properly. They're trying to cut corners. Usually, this ends up costing everybody more at the end. Doing things by the book might be a little bit more expensive and might take a little bit longer time, but you will have no problems when the project is finished, when the production is finished. So again, bad, good to do. Now, to get something off the ground, so especially if you think about like startup companies, but it doesn't have to be. Any business or any individual who wants to get a business started or to get a project started, he's trying to get it off the ground. Off the ground means working, right? So the first thing you need to get a project off the ground is money. So you get investors, you get people to, the banks maybe even to give you a loan. You get all the money so that you can get the project off the ground and get it started, get it building towards completion. If something comes with no strings attached, strings basically means conditions. So usually, for example, if you go to the bank, they will give you a lot of conditions. There's a lot of strings about getting a loan from a bank. You're paying interest, there's a deadline, there's a monthly fee, you have to sign over your house or some sort of collateral. If you go to a loan shark, you say, here's your money, no strings attached, except for one. If you don't pay me the money back with 50% interest, I break your legs. Something like that. In relationships, people often use this expression in relationships. Some people say, let's just be together. No strings attached means there's no commitment, no conditions, just have fun, and when it's over, it's over. Does it work? I don't know. For some people, yes. For some people, no. There's actually a movie called No Strings Attached. You can watch that and decide. But this is a very common expression. When somebody wants you to do something for them and they say no strings attached, remember there's probably some strings attached somewhere. Think outside the box. Now this is a very, very important expression, a little bit too popular, to be honest. A lot of people use this expression in their resumes or CVs. They say, oh, I'm a very creative person. I like to think outside the box. If you write on your resume that you think outside the box, then actually you don't think outside the box because everybody is writing the same thing. To think outside the box means to think differently, to get out of cliche, to get out of the standard, to be very creative or very innovative. A box has limits. Outside the box, limitless. So this is just a key. If you're writing a resume, don't tell them you think outside the box because every other applicant might be saying the same thing. Word of mouth. So the best way to advertise a product is not to spend a lot of money on ads and promotions and TV spots and YouTube spots and all that. The best way is word of mouth. When a happy customer tells his or her friends about your product, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and your reputation grows and awareness of your product grows as people tell each other. And as one person tells the other, it's called word of mouth. I'm telling you, and it spreads and it spreads and it spreads. Best advertising and free, if you can do it. Let's go cutthroat. When we talk about competition, some companies are very successful because they are big and they can afford to offer cutthroat prices. Cutthroat means like the cheapest of the cheap, so that the nearest competitor can't actually compete with them because the prices are so low to the customer that if the competition decides to offer the same price, they will go out of business. This is how big companies destroy little companies. They offer customers cutthroat prices. The small companies can't compete. They lose customers. They go out of business. And you can also think about cutthroat approaches. Somebody does something in a way that no one else can compete with them. It's very, I guess you could say it's mean, but business people are generally a little bit mean, I think. If you're going to be a successful business person, you have to be a little bit mean to be the best. And last one, it takes two to tango. Tango is a type of dance, but you can't dance this dance by yourself. You need two people to make this dance work. Just like you need two people to make certain relationships work. So a business, for example, a business cannot succeed without the customer being involved. So if a business owner or a manager tries to do something because he or she likes it, it doesn't matter. If the customer doesn't like it, you're going to go out of business because it takes two to tango. Both sides have to enjoy or want to do something in order for it to work. Also, if let's say there's an industry where there's really only 3 big companies, if I want to push one of the companies out, basically make them go out of business, I'm going to need the help of the second company because by myself, I don't have enough power. And if the two of them get together, they can take me out. So I need a partner because it takes two to tango. It takes two to get something done. Okay? So there you go. There's some good business expressions for you. Think outside the box, word of mouth, get something off the ground, buy the book, cut corners. These are all usable, or basically these are the most usable ones in terms of writing. All the rest can be used in speaking, a bit informal situations. Okay? If you have any questions about any of these idioms, please go to engVid.com. You can ask me in the comment section there. There's also a quiz where you can test your understanding of these idioms. And yeah, I hope you liked this video. Give me a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for notifications of future videos. And come back soon. I'll give you some more idioms, vocab, grammar tips, etc. See you. Bye-bye.